But let me ask you, what about the founding, like founding fathers? Is that something? Because I know you have opinions kind of on both sides of that, and I think they're more nuanced. But is that a big part of what you like?
I love the founding fathers. I think they're brilliant. I love George Washington. I love Hamilton. I like John Adams. I think they're remarkable people. So yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, political liberty. Can you kind of explain, I guess, that a little bit? Because that's where I know you've said that you differ with conservatives. And I don't want to mischaracterize you. I understand you've said that you're not, quote unquote, conservative. That's not, you
right.
Identify as America first. So political liberty, what does that mean?
I would say I'm more reactionary than conservative. That's why I don't mean when I say I'm not conservative that I'm something else. And so, as far as political liberty goes, I like that in our country, we have a generally permissive climate. I think, of course, that's gone too far in some ways. But I do like that we have a free press. I like that we have the right to own guns. I am a capitalist. I'm not an ideological free market person, but I like that we have private property. I like we can own what we earn. And on some level, I like that we have a republic. I'm very into the idea that we have Republican sovereignty. That we have rights. They're protected by God. The Constitution respects that also. Okay. And I would say, because I could kind of see maybe, I don't know if you're comfortable with this, if I could go a little further here.
Sure. I mean, look, go wherever you want. And as long as you're comfortable with me disagreeing and understanding that it's meant to be fair, but I'll let you know where I do.
Yeah, because maybe I could see where you're going with this. I'm really not like a totalitarian. I don't want a police state, to the extent that people say these things about me, like you're a fascist, you're a communist or a socialist. I'm very much not in favor of that sort of thing. I just think that, in the past 30 years, we've gone a little bit too far in the other direction. That's all. No,
and I wouldn't disagree with that last part, by the way. For example, I think it's very reasonable to say, you know what, maybe OnlyFans isn't a good thing. When you have libertarians going, oh yeah, if they ask for identification to prove you're of age to get pornography, the next thing you know, they're going to take your guns away. I'm like, I think that being 18 to get hardcore pornography kind of makes sense. So if addressing the hardcore libertarian sort of ideology, I would agree. If it goes towards like a theocracy or something like that, which I know you've discussed, I would disagree. And look, I want to play this because, of course, everyone's going to ask me to ask you this about the Tucker Stalin clip. So what I want to do is play it, and then I know that you've already explained it more recently. I want to play a longer clip in context and then give you the floor, because otherwise people say, why did he softball him and not ask about Stalin? Here's the clip for those who haven't seen it from Tucker Carlson.
So it was like late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was an admirer. But we don't need to go into that.
Well, that's okay. Let's get back to it. We'll circle back to that.
Bro, what the F? Oh my God. Every time when I see this clip, it's actually so funny. The way how Tucker Carlson reacts. Nick is like, yeah, I admire Stalin. I'm a big fan of him. And Tucker Carlson is like, oh. You can see the shock in Tucker Carlson's eye. And also like, Nick, dude, why do you just randomly bring this up in the middle of an interview? Like it's a serious interview. And out of the blue, you just say that you admire Stalin. Like one of the most evil guys in our history. And he's just acting like it's completely fine. But I'm sorry. But just the way how Tucker Carlson reacts. Oh my God. Okay, let's continue. Bro, Nick, oh.
And then he called you a gay fed. No, I'm kidding, but pretty much that's what he did. People are mad at him for softballing. I think he didn't. I think that would be fair to press. I just think he was fundamentally dishonest in a lot of ways, because the second you left, it was a different Tucker again. Is that a fair assessment? I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, 100%. And, I had the same experience with Candace. I went out there because him and I had beef. Me and Tucker had been privately and then publicly beefing for years. And, he called me on the phone over the summer. And we talked a little bit, and then somebody arranged. Alex Jones was a part of it, and somebody else kind of put this together. I went out.
Wait.
Dinner for
Alex
3 hours.
Jones was the mediator?
He was.
You do kiss and make up. All right, come on, this is enough. I mean, I can't imagine him being the middle ground, but okay.
He's a sweet guy, you know. He's
a teddy bear.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't want to see us fighting because he loves Tucker. He loves me. He kind of put it together for us, and so I go out there, we have dinner, we do the show, and at no point during the show or during the dinner was it really even contentious. Was there really even an explicit disagreement? We had some disagreements, but he kind of tried to avoid those. I don't think that he was very forceful or direct about those. And then I went on my show the next day and said, yeah, it was a great interview. I thought it was really nice, and we're on the same page now. And then every single interview that he has done since then, he doesn't say my name without calling me an anti-Semite. He's going and doing the circuit, and every show that he goes on, he says, you know, Nick is really talented and this and that, but I don't agree with his anti-Semitism and hatred. And I'm like, okay, so where was that during the dinner? Where was that during the show? I didn't hear that during the whole thing. I'm an anti-Semite now. And I wish he would have brought that up during the discussion, because I would have loved to discuss that or to dispute that or whatever. But it's like you said, I got a completely different Tucker after the fact in all these other shows. He's going around and telling everybody, you know, that like it's the making of a murderer.
Right.
Like, I could see why people like him, even though he's
like
so
you're
awful.
Like you're the Averys. Yeah, you know, you got them Jews there. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Candace will make another show about that like 9 years later. Okay, so that's did she do like something about making a murderer? I was like, well, this is very.
Oh, bro, Steven, this was also funny. I have to admit that. And Nick made a good point, and I get it, of course. I also saw it. Like, Tucker, like, once he interviews you or once he interviewed Nick, he was, like, super nice, and he's acting like your biggest friend. And the moment, like, after the interview, one day later, he will talk bad about you, and he just changes his story. I get this, and it's frustrating. I understand that that he is frustrated about this. I get this. But can we please stop fighting each other over and over again? I'm getting a little bit tired that like all these conservative people, they are constantly like having a fight with each other. Then it's Nick with Tucker Carlson, then it's Nick with Candace Owens. Imagine if we would like work together, if they would work together, if they would bundle their strength, like how much or how powerful their movement can be, instead of like constantly attacking each other, instead of like constantly like being busy with each other. They should group together, make like a strong movement, and then there's actually no one who can destroy them. Because I almost feel like they're getting paid, or they like to fight each other because they can make money off it, because it's just stupid. And again, I'm not trying to defend Tucker or something. I get the point Nick is trying to make. Like, Tucker Carlson behaved like this two-faced guy, like he's nice when you talk with him, but one day later he will completely roast you, or he will talk bad about you. I get this, and it's frustrating, but please, this has been going on for so long now already. Can we finally like group together, solve the actual problems in this country? Because I feel like if we are constantly like fighting each other, we will never solve the actual problems in this country. It's just stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. We should stop doing this. But again, this is how I feel about it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have so much more important work to do than like constantly being busy with each other. Then it's Nick with Candace, then it's Candace with Nick, then it's Tucker with Nick, then it's Tucker with Candace. You get the point. Please group together, or just stop wasting your time on each other and like make America great again. Put Americans first instead of like constantly these fights. It's just such a waste,
Late. Okay, but going back to that's the clip that people say, ask him about Stalin. And I would have, in Tucker's shoes, asked you about Stalin. Now, I've seen you on another show explain it more recently. Now, I can't play the whole clip because it'll be really long, but I want to play a longer one and then allow you to provide any missing context. I can't remember the name of this, something Danny D, Johnny G, play it.
Tommy G.
Tommy G, I was close.
I agree you have some hilarious moments, but there was a moment from the Tucker Carlson interview I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
You mentioned Stalin. You're a fan of his work?
Yes.
Was that serious or a joke?
That wasn't a joke. But, you know, it's like anything else. I love history, and I love stories. And to me, Joseph Stalin is an extremely compelling figure. I would say more, you'd be surprised to hear this, than Hitler. Everybody pegs me as like a Hitler guy. I'll tell you, and I'm not saying this to pander, I'm not saying this, you know, because I care about what you think of me. I really don't even know that much about Hitler. I never found Hitler to be that interesting. I think that there's narratives about Hitler that are interesting. In America, if you talk a certain way about certain issues, they say you're a Nazi, you're Hitler. So it's interesting in that way. But for me, Stalin is the far more compelling figure. And I say that because, while everybody focuses on Hitler, Stalin is a person who takes Russia, which is the most backwards country in Europe at the beginning of the 20th century, serfs and peasants and just all around immiseration and poverty. He takes a country like this, and by the time he dies, it's a nuclear empire. It's a global superpower. It's like the most unbelievable story in the history of mankind. And so I don't think he's a good person. He's an evil person. He's one of the villains of history. But in terms of his effects, he's an effective ruler. And I think that's interesting.
Okay. Now that clip goes on, we'll make the link available. I don't want to do an interview where everyone's watching you watch you. But so with that, and I was asked about this on Piers Morgan. And I, again, asked to condemn, Stalin. I said, look, I don't know. He could have meant, and by the way, I don't know if you have a cold. I have a halls in my throat right now. I notice everyone's a little bit sniffly. I said, he could have been saying he's fascinated. Like, for example, I've been going down a rabbit hole of Stalin versus Trotsky, like how much they hated each other, which would seem odd to us because they're very similar. The spoiler alert, it's two assholes fighting. That's pretty much all it is. And I would be curious to ask him about that. So when people say disavow without having the full context, I think that's wrong. Now, that said, my question to you would be, I know that you have said we need a Catholic theocracy or a Christian theocracy. I've heard the word dictatorship, correct me if I'm wrong. So I would ask you, since the end point seems much more similar to where Stalin reached, just swap atheism for Catholicism or Christianity, would you be able to name, or is there any one thing that you think America, like concretely, should copy about Stalin's rule or methods to get there?
Not his methods, because, like I said, he's an evil person, or a murderer, and genocidal, arguably with the famine. I mean, I think that's pretty clearly intentional that they were trying to kill all those people there. And so I want to make that clear. Sometimes I feel like it's almost childish, and I'm not saying that about this interview, but just in general, when people say, "Wait, but he was a bad guy," it's like, I know he's a bad guy. Like, I know he was evil. And I suppose the thing that I find maybe more compelling about Stalin as a ruler is the way that he industrialized the country. I'm very interested in this because that is, among the other things that I talk about, a very important problem in the country is that we're deindustrialized. Yeah. And what Stalin did, and I said that in that clip and in other clips too, he takes a country that has no industry. And he literally, and with brutal, evil methods that I don't replicate, I don't support that, but he does take the country and drag it into the 21st century. And he does that by bringing in heavy industry.
And this is so true, and this is a very important point Nick makes here, because this just shows you that always you should listen to Nick instead of believing these clips. Because of course, if you just see this small clip, what I showed earlier in this video, where you just see Nick talking with Tucker Carlson, and you just see this 6-minute clip, then you think what a weirdo. Nick Fuentes actually admires Stalin. That's super weird. Stalin was the worst guy in our history. What a weirdo that Nick actually supports this man. But then when you hear Nick talking now, when he's explaining himself, then you're actually okay, he has some good points. So actually, what I'm trying to say, stop believing all these little clips, because this just shows you how they can trick you, how they can trick your opinion. Because I see so many people in my comments, sometimes they said, but Nick is a Stalin worshipper. He is not. He just said multiple times, Stalin was a horrible guy, an evil guy, and I completely agree. Stalin was one of the worst guys in our history, one of the most evil men we ever know. But that doesn't mean that even a bad guy can still do some things what is also good for the country. So what he just explained is this just says it all. You don't have to support, or you can hate someone, or you don't have to support someone, but it doesn't mean that you can still like some things what someone did. And of course, Stalin did the most horrible things. We all know this, but there's not many people who actually know that he also did some good things for his country. For Russia, for example, he did some good things. And this is just what Nick tried to explain. But if you only see these little clips, you're like, what a weirdo. Like he can't even explain himself in these little clips because they clip it out. And now when he's explaining himself, people can disagree with him. You can agree with him. You have to decide this for yourself. I always say this, use your own brain. But you can't deny that he makes some good points. Because what Stalin did for Russia, in some ways it was good. And of course he did some horrible things. We all know this. But the most important thing is that Nick should, like, if he explains himself, you can be like, all right, he has some good points. Or maybe not. You can decide it for yourself. But this is very important because now he explains himself and then it makes the story better, right? Because if you just see these little clips, you're like, dude, what a weirdo.
5-year plans, the collectivization of the farms, it was about prioritizing heavy industry so that they could eventually build ships and planes and tanks and, you know, the things that they needed to fight the war. So,
but it was about seizing industry, and it was about doing it by force. I mean, you know, secret police, the party purges, the show trials. So if you say the industrialization of the country, how do you separate that from, I mean, the only methods were largely evil, or certainly his calling card methods. Right, that's where people would say, okay, if you point to him as an example, is there anything worthy of emulating other than, because you could point to other countries that have industrialized, including the United States?
Well, I don't think that is necessary. I think because it starts with the idea that a country, an empire, needs industry. You need to be able to make things. We don't make things. We don't even make the machines that make things anymore. China makes all the things. And so starting from the idea where Stalin says in the 20s, he says, we're either going to do in 15 years what it would normally take us 100 years to do, or we're going to die. Our country will not exist anymore because we are encircled. And I feel like America's in sort of a similar position where we need to race ahead of China or else we are going to be destroyed. We need industry back in the country. And I don't believe in taking grain to feed the factory workers and enslaving people in gulags. But I do think the government needs to set. It's sort of like when JFK said, we're going to go to the moon in 10 years. I like the idea, this ambitious idea of we're going to catch up in 10 years. We're just going to go out there and do it. We're just going to build it. And I don't support, killing people. I don't think you need to kill people to achieve that. But I like the idea of urgency, setting targets, having a national strategy, and doing it for the sake of power projection.
Well, and I agree, by the way, industrialization, right, is good. We went through that in America quite a bit before Russia. The reason they had to play catch up is because it was an awful place and they had to do it by force. So my question is, am I mischaracterizing? And everything that I ask is genuine here because I'm trying to see where we disagree. Because I think Stalin is a fascinating historical character. You're talking to a guy, we did the great Diktoff, where we did brackets for 3 days of Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Mao. Funniest one was Papa Doc in Haiti because he sucked. Pinochet, who wasn't all wrong. And we were very clear about this. And I think Mao ended up winning. Might have been Pol Pot, though the number wasn't as high, but he was just really dumb and really brutal, which is a bad combination. How could you get, if we're talking about now, to Stalin's industrial results without Stalin's methods? If you want to get to a Catholic, first off, have you said Catholic theocracy? Am I misquoting?
I might have said it, but I don't believe in a Catholic theocracy. I think that the government should be Christian, but not a theocracy. Okay.
Not a dictatorship either?
We might need a very powerful executive for a short amount of time. I think that's maybe unavoidable.
Yes, Nick Fuentes for president. Emperor Nick Fuentes. No, all jokes aside. I mean, I actually believe that it would be good for our country if we made this guy, Nick Fuentes, president. I know he's still too young now. We have to wait a little bit. But I actually believe that he could solve some problems in his country. He is actually America first. He is not fake like all these other politicians like Donald Trump who are cosplaying like they're America first. No, Nick is actually America first. But that's another discussion for now. I really like this interview. I also have to give my respect for like Steven. Normally I'm not his biggest fan. I don't like watching the interviews between Steven Crowder and his guest, but now I liked it because Nick was on here, of course. But I have to say he did a good job on this interview. So respect for Steve. Like, I'm not a hypocrite, so when I like something I also have to say this because many times I complain about Steven as well. So good job for that. And what they said is kind of true. I completely agree with them. And let me make this very clear. Stalin wasn't a horrible guy, but this was not the point Nick was trying to make. If you carefully listen to him, you understand understand what he actually means, and then it's not that bad. But always decide this for yourself. This is my opinion. I'm very curious about your opinion. Like, do you agree with Nick? Do you disagree with Nick? Please feel free to share your opinion in the comments. Very important to say, I always read all comments, and I even try to reply to all of your comments. So please share your opinion in the comments. I'm very curious. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And last but not least, guys, I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!